Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of Astro Tech Quest. All right, so today we'll be going over two things. As you can see from the title, the first thing we're talking about is Lockheed Martin's project, which is called Destination Space 2050. We'll talk more into that, in detail into that later, but quick overview of that thing. Lockheed Martin is creating a project where they want to, by 2050, they want to create a bunch of cool technology that will help humans explore space and even colonize Mars and the moon. Because who doesn't want to do that? It's pretty cool stuff, right? And along with that, I also want to give some STEM advice, right? If you don't remember, I gave some STEM advice in the first episode. Didn't have time in the second episode. So in the third segment, or third episode, this one, I'll be able to give some advice. So stick around in the end if you want some STEM advice. Hope you find it pretty useful. And remember to follow for any notifications when I publish a new episode. I got it on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, literally anywhere. You can share it to your friends, whoever is interested in space and tech, because space and tech is a growing field. And one of the cool things, as I said, one of the cool things about space is that it gives a lot of answers about who we are and where we are actually, and why, right? Like because obviously we're humans, and we are very curious minds. We want to know, we want answers, right? We want to know where in the world we are. So if you have any friends or any relatives that are interested in space and tech, share it to them. So and obviously make sure to subscribe and like and follow and do all of that. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is Lockheed Martin's project, which is Destination Space 2050. So the mission for this project, the general mission is to basically explore. They want to explore, challenge, and push the limits. Because by 2050, they want to make sure that they have all the technology needed for space exploration and space missions and all that. Because obviously, as humans, we want to see some action, right? We want to explore some space, but obviously, it takes a lot of time. So I think what Lockheed Martin is trying to do is they're setting a goal so basically by 2050, we're gonna do all of this, and we are gonna make it work. And it's pretty cool, right? I mean, obviously 2050, it's a really captivating year. But when we think of 2050, like we obviously think about flying cars and automated robots that will cook spaghetti for us, or by 2050, we'll have like people who are born on Mars. That's like pretty cool stuff, right? So that's what Lockheed wants to do. But obviously, instead of just saying that, oh, we're gonna like colonize Mars, that's pretty cool. But obviously, we kind of want more information. Like, where are they going? Where are they starting from, right? So Lockheed Martin, back in actually last year, they had a conference, and in the conference, they wanted to kind of give an idea of some technologies that'll be very, very important, and some never before seen technologies that they want to use in order to make this mission true. They want to make the mission possible, and there has to be something that's kind of like the building block of their mission. And so they have talked about these two technologies that it's still a growing technology. That means a lot of people are still working on this, and it's relatively new, and it's something that is not like at its best right now. And we know that people can make it better. So the first thing is quantum applications, right? So what they want to do is with quantum technology, I think the last time you heard quantum was probably from Ant-Man in the movie. I'm just kidding. But what they want to do is, when you think of quantum technology, right? Quantum technology is basically let's say you want to take a bunch of data, right? If you want to take a bunch of data in a short amount of time, while requiring less energy. That's what we want to do, right? Because there's so many things out there that are taking in a bunch of data and all that, or receiving a bunch of data, and to do that, it requires a lot of energy. And the problem is that like it's a lot of energy that like a lot of energy going to waste, and it won't be as useful in the future, right? We want to create some technologies that require less energy to do to do stuff at a faster rate. That's basically what we want, and it's possible with quantum technology. So that's what Lockheed Martin wants to do. So they wanna, like, for example, for technologies like remote sensing or communications, it has a lot of advanced capabilities, but also along with quantum technology, with its ability to process and send communication, different types of communication in a really fast processing speed, while requiring less energy consumption. So that's it. And basically with self significant with self sorry with less energy consumption, so while most of the energy is used for like other stuff, like maybe for example in a spacecraft, right? If most of the energy will be using most energy will be used to thrust the spacecraft, right? Using thrust for the spacecraft, but also it is along with that, the power can be also used for sending communications in like just seconds, right? And that's what we want to do, because obviously if you send a rover to Mars, right, the light of speed takes about like what, 8 minutes or something, or maybe more than that. I think no, not 8 minutes, way more than that. But basically what they want, or maybe for Mars, right? It takes like 2 minutes, about 2 minutes for the speed of light to reach the moon. So basically, like, we obviously, in 2 minutes is fast, but we want it instant, because if, let's say if we want to send some communications from a space probe that is literally at the edge of our solar system, right? That won't take 2 minutes. That'll take like probably years, right? That'll take years. So we obviously don't want we want these communications to be fast and quick, and so that's what quantum technology is about. And they want to kind of increase this. You want to make it more efficient in the future, so that way, like by 2050, it'll be like very reliable. So that's what they kind of want to do, right? Like if they want to communicate with people on Earth, all they got to do is just call someone, and then it will send a signal in less power, less energy consumption, and it while also requiring less time, so then that people from Earth can answer, right? So that's pretty cool stuff. And it's still like not at its best. I think like a lot of things have been done in terms of like satellite communication, but obviously they want to do it at a higher rate, right? And we believe that they can do a higher rate, or they believe they can do a higher rate. Technically, us in the future. And then another thing they wanted to work on is self-adapting autonomy. When you think of autonomous, you think of, oh yeah, AI, right? That's literally the first thing you probably would think about, because when you think of like self-driving cars, right? How it's obviously not human intelligence. Then what is it? Artificial intelligence, right? So basically, Lockheed Martin is trying to use autonomous self-monitors for the spacecraft to respond to unknowns. Now here's the thing: when I say unknowns, that means that we don't even know what's out there, right? The one thing what we'll do is we'll tell the spacecraft like, hey, if you see an asteroid, just move to the left or whatever, right? But like, one thing is like when we give the training data to and how this is how AI works, right? We give training data, and then we'll test it and see if it's able to recognize a bunch of stuff, right? So that's what we will do, right, as the base. But obviously there might be other stuff out there that we don't know, and we don't know if it's dangerous or not. And what Lockheed wants to do is create this self-adapting autonomy where, while it's supposed to look for the asteroids, it recognizes something and say, hey, the AI itself it has the ability to recognize whether something else, something that's like unknown to us and unknown to the AI, is dangerous or not. And as we're not out there, so we can recognize it. And even though we're out there, I don't think we're able to recognize it until, I don't know, that thing hits our spacecraft and then whatnot. I think we've all seen this in movies, but basically the AI detects it. There's human on the spaceship, and then the human's like, what is that? And then the AI does some little detection thing, and it says, oh, it's a bomb. And it's like, uh-oh, right? So you've probably seen that in movies, right? So that's, and also like unknown stuff. Like let's say the spacecraft is moving, and then somehow there's like another spacecraft in front of it, and which is like not ours, and we're like, oh, what is that? And then kind of like while that's happening, the AI will self adapt. So he's like, oh, okay, I'll turn right now because I think that's a bad thing, bad like spacecraft that's trying to attack us or whatever. So that's kind of like what Lockheed Martin wants to do, right? Because obviously we're not out there, and even though we can see what's going on, we cannot communicate in an instant, right? That means, I mean, we're trying to also adapt, do that through quantum applications, right? But it will be also very nice if the AI could itself do that, right? So because we also don't even know, we may not even know whether something out there is dangerous or not. So that's what self-adapting autonomy is. So while it's supposed to do its recognition that we train it to do, it's also able to adapt and figure out whether if something else is a dangerous thing or not, right? But obviously, it's lots of long road to go through, and it's gonna be a lot of work that we have to do in order to make this true. But again, by 2050, we'll see if it works out. Um, but yeah, so like for example, right? Let's say um, under harsh conditions, right? Like let's say under harsh conditions, like maybe if it's like really hot or if it's really far away or if it's in an asteroid belt, maybe like some deep space probes could like send some data and send some more research in like short missions while under harsh conditions. They want to do that so that they can make sure that they can get as much research or as much data as possible while applying quantum application to set them in seconds, and while make sure that the AI can adapt so that it can proceed to send some data while the AI can also make sure that the spacecraft is not colliding into anything else by saying, oh, I think that's not good. We'll like move away from it, right? Because, obviously not just on Earth, but also in space, things are pretty unexpected, right? You never know when, a sun, not the sun, like a star or a planet just explodes out of nowhere, right? Because, we don't know if aliens out there. So that's what the self-adapting autonomy is. And, obviously there's a long way to go. So we'll see how that is. But yeah, that's basically what Lockheed Martin's mission is. If you want, you can search it up. Just search up Lockheed Martin Destination Space 2050, and there's definitely a lot of information out there that talks about how what they want to do and all that type of stuff. And it's pretty cool. It's really pretty fascinating. And if you want to take part of this in the future, well, I guess you're in the right place, right? And as long as you're doing the right things, which hopefully can help you doing that, then we'll have a pretty bright future. All right, time for some advice. So last episode, I wasn't able to give some advice. So hopefully this time I can give some advice right now. So basically what happens when you learn something like website development or app development or AI or some coding thing, right? Sometimes when you want to let's say you want to, if you want to you learn what a sonnet is in English, right? And you probably know that oh yeah, sonnet has 14 lines and it has this rhyming scheme, it has this meter, right? And you're like, okay, that's pretty cool, but you haven't really grasped it, right? You can read a bunch of poems that you don't even understand. But I think, but English teachers do is what they think is the best way to kind of like get into practice and get into your head is to write your own sonnet. And it's kind of annoying if you're not really interested in English. It's like, bro, I'm not going to spend my time writing on this. But, you have to do it anyways. But one of the things they want you to learn from this is that if you do your own, if you try to apply it in terms of your own, how you view the world or your own application of, like in terms of yourself and your application, you will get a way better understanding of how to do things, right? And it will also help you for the future. So that's what for example, what coding is, right? So maybe you like learn some Java or some Python, but like you wanna when you do that, you probably would wanna like spend more time on it instead of just learning stuff. Maybe you can probably like use the skills you learned to make something that's beneficial, right? Or beneficial for you as a community. So basically, if you're passionate about website development, app development, or AI or anything do a personal project. Do a personal project that really helps you to absorb all the skills that you're learning while also doing something beneficial, right? So like let's say if you're doing app development and if you want to do something beneficial for the community, right? Like even though you don't know, like maybe you like learn the basics, but you don't even know like, oh, how do I do the login system, or oh, how do I authenticate Firebase and whatnot, right? You can just, I mean, you can obviously search that up. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials out there. You don't have to just you go through classes and whatnot, right? There's a lot of YouTube tutorials out there, and you can, while also learning a bunch of stuff like how to code and do this and all that, so you can like train yourself for the future, right? You also subsequently make an app that will be really beneficial for the community. And obviously, it goes through some thinking and some idea formation and brainstorming. But once you create some app that will benefit the community or yourself or some fun personal project, those skills that you learn will really apply to your head. So you get a really good idea of where you're at and also like the skills you learned. I've like done a lot of personal projects, and I haven't really finished it, but from the beginning of beginning of the project to now, right? I've learned so much. Like all of that, all this project really could help me for future apps that I want to do in the future that will actually have some effect, right? Or have actually some benefit. Like I mean, personal projects, like I just started up with some game app, right? Obviously, it's like, oh, that's cool, it's a game app, but along with that, it's also like I learned a lot of cool stuff. Like, oh, I know how to do this and that's some cool coding techniques, and when you apply it on something that you actually want to do or want to make for something beneficial for yourself or your community or your family or the entire world, it'll be like really useful. It's really good use of time instead of just spending some time, instead of just thinking and saying that, I'll just like learn a bunch of stuff before I actually do this. There's so much to learn. You can't technically learn like everything of website development or app development. There's so much that even the experts, the experts out there, they probably don't even know anything about everything about website or app development, right? They don't know every single part of website development and app development, right? Because there's so much to it. So obviously, like I think it's best that while you're learning, you do some project, and you'll get it's a lot of good time use, right? And also you'll learn a lot of valuable skills. So I think it's like really good for that. And if you don't know where to start, now I would suggest like something like the Maui fires, right? People are are struggling out there because of, and also you have to think of the reason of why Maui fire started, and they suggested it's because of the PG&E lines, right? The PG&E lines were not like, it was not stable, like because of the wind and whatnot. It sparked a fire somewhere. So maybe think of like, or but like also just like sending help and like sending some resources, or for like governments or whatnot to get enough money to pay for all the infrastructure that they lost at the fire. So just think about that, right? Obviously if you there's so many world issues out there, and obviously when you think of like, oh, disasters or poverty or climate change, you also want to go pretty specific, right? Because you can't just solve climate change in like 1 second. Because what everyone's doing out there is, instead of just saying that, hey, we need to solve climate change, we say, hey, we're going to solve XYZ, and this will help contribute to solving climate change, right? That's kind of like what it is. So you want to kind of go specific and make sure that you're doing a specific project that will help benefit something even broader, while also you're learning skills. Isn't that pretty cool? That's like a really good use of time, I would say. So here's some like tips while you're doing like a personal project. This is also what I had to go through. Basically what you do is first list out the features that you want to use in your app, right? Let's say it's like, oh, I want to add like a cool like a navigation system, or maybe I want to add like a login system. Maybe I want to have this really cool AR and VR feature. How about that, right? So you will like list out these features, but one of the problems is that while you're coding, you think that, oh, I want to add this feature, and you're just gonna keep on doing that, and then you'll just never finish, right? And that's the problem. You should, because you can also think about like, hey, you don't have to add this. You can add maybe the next update when the app becomes popular or the website becomes popular, or like some AI project, it becomes like a well-known topic that everyone's really interested about, right? So you don't have to like just keep on adding and adding and adding. You should always just like set like a goal line, and then just like follow that. And then if it's something that's like really needed, like, oh, I haven't really considered about this and I have to put it, then yes, do it. Like, for example, like a terms and conditions, right? Something basically like that. But if it's like, oh, I want to add a VR and an AR thing, or, maybe something like that, right? Like if it's pretty complicated, and if you don't think that you'll have the time to do that because maybe like school's there or college work and whatnot, then obviously you don't have to do it. So just obviously keep in mind of those things while you're doing the project. But yeah, obviously, if you're deeply interested in field and you have a project in your mind and you probably feel excited about it, really excited about it, and you probably won't burn out, right? You got this. You can definitely do this project. All right, you can definitely do this project. Start a personal project, because I know that if you're really interested in topic, you should probably do like a personal project to kind of like help gain your skills, and you definitely probably not won't burn out, as I said earlier, because you're really excited to work on it. So yeah, at least when we're doing all this project, we all don't hope we all hope that we don't burn out, right? We don't want to burn out. So yeah, that's basically my piece of advice. So if you think it's pretty useful, maybe start working on it right now if you have the time. But yeah, that's basically it for today. Again, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next episode. So yeah, and also share to like create that community that we want to, right? And hey, if you want to join as like a guest speaker on this show, maybe we can talk about a couple of stuff, and maybe if you want to give some advice to the people watching, or kind of like maybe give us a little insight of like how you've achieved a specific thing in your life, because I think people would pretty much value that. And go ahead, you can definitely spend some time with me. It should be like 20 minutes or something like that. So if you have the time, then that's pretty cool. All right. So yeah, without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.